The city's tough, the winters are cold, and there's a realness to the city that lots of kids unfortunately have to experience. Violence, murder, poverty. It's tiring. It makes a lot of kids want to get out.
Rose on the drive to the basket, banks it in. A burst of speed for Rose. Couple of buckets here in the third. He's got 12. On the drive, shot blocked by Rose.
You can definitely see why there are a lot of very physical and tough players here. It just goes back to what people always say, that better players come out the hood. While I don't believe that to be true, this is why people would say that, because of an area like this. And I can just tell a lot of tough players that come from this area.
You always hear about the three basketball capitals here in the U.S. LA, Chicago, and New York. Well, two of those three, they have some pretty prestigious college basketball programs. California, LA, UCLA, Stanford, USC, the list goes on. In New York, Syracuse. And even the smaller schools in New York, St. Bonaventure, Siena, just to name a few, have had success at least getting to the NCAA tournament. But what about Chicago? Chicago doesn't really have a big name school and doesn't really have a big college program. Loyola comes to mind, Dufault comes to mind, but no real big program that really holds any type of name. So, our journey starts here at the University of Illinois, Chicago, where we will rebuild Chicago as the Mecca of college basketball. Let's get this legacy underway. Yo, what's good, YouTube? This is Jay from TNJ, and welcome to College Hoops 2K8 Legacy Mode with the University of Illinois, Chicago. Now, you guys did vote for NCAA Basketball 10 or College Hoops, and you guys did vote for NCAA 10. It did win, but none of you guys put a descriptive comment on why that should be the game to go with. Now, I have a ton of reasons why College Hoops should be the game, and you guys put them in the comment section, like deeper mode, the training is better, the progression is better, there's a lot more to do in the mode, it's a lot more interesting, the gameplay is better, a lot of that stuff. So, we are going to go with College Hoops. Now, this game is pretty fun, and one thing I love about this game is just the progression in the recruiting. So, if you guys don't know, you can actually recruit from freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors in high school and kind of just tell a story with them. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to tell a story of getting Chicago back on the map. And we are going to have fun with this one. So let's start out with the gameplay settings here in this legacy mode. We are going to play on MLP in 13 minutes, and we also will use custom sliders as well. These are custom MLP sliders. I have the link in the description. They'll be in the description of every video, but also you can find them on Operation Sports. I want to make this challenging, and one thing I'm going to do here is turn on real player free throw percentage so that there is no user influence on free throws made, because obviously if you get the free throws down, you can make as many as you want, but this time we will actually go with real player free throw percentage. Now let's talk some more about gameplay. So, you know, in my NCAA football series, I do not switch on defense. We will do the same thing here in this series. We will only control the point guard on defense, and on offense we'll control everybody. So that way we get to see the team's true ratings on defense, and on offense we'll also get to see those as well, and it'll kind of be more user influence that way. So here is a snippet of the sliders, and feel free to use them and try them out in your legacy. Now, to make this even more challenging, we are moving to the Big East. So you can see here, I did not move everybody over into their correct conferences because College Hoops 2K8 does not have the AAC. So I kind of kept it the same Big East, but we did move Butler and UIC in this conference. So let's introduce the roster, starting with Alexander Silva. He is a slasher at point guard. Now, I really like this kid. He is a leader, and you know what? He's going to be good with the ball in his hands. Now, the problem is with the ball off of his hands. He's not really a shooter, and he can't really do much on defense, but he is a leader. And one thing I love about him is that he can make plays. He is a playmaker. He will get guys the ball in space, and he can drive to the lane and make plays for himself. So then that moves us to the sophomore, 6'4", Kendall Moore, and he can shoot. He can do it all, actually. He can drive to the lane. He can shoot from three. He can shoot from mid-range, and that's one thing I love about him. Now, another defensive liability here, but it's all right because I do need some scores here. This is going to be a tough rebuild. Nobody is over 61 overall. Everybody is pretty much under 60 overall, except for exception of two guys. And Kendall Moore is one of those guys that is under 60 overall. So he's going to be our starting shooting guard for the time being. Now let's move over to small forward. Brett Williams is a senior on this roster. He is 6'8", and he's going to be the guy that's going to be a 3-and-D guy. Now, he can knock down shots with the best of them. His consistency does need a little bit of work, but I love his jump shot. His form is perfect for the role he's going to be playing, and I can definitely see a lot of assists from Silva to this guy because Williams, he can knock it down from three. And if he can just get into a rhythm and maybe work on that consistency a little bit, he's going to be dangerous on the offensive end. Now, I have not mentioned anybody that's really good on defense. Williams is an all-right defender, but he is typically a 3-and-D guy, but we'll have to develop his consistency. He is a senior, so he'll have to be a leader. Now, let's talk about Tevin Dunn Jr., the 6'9" sophomore, who will be with us for a few more years. Now, he is probably the best three-point shooter on the team. Now, I don't know about him defensively. He's long, and that's what makes him a good defender, but true defensively, I don't really know. You know, he can knock down shots from the wing, but can he guard wings? I don't think so. So he's going to be kind of a one-trick pony. If he can get against a guy that isn't good offensively, I think that's the best matchup we can find, but he's going to be a liability for sure. But then let's talk about somebody that will be good on defense. Eliot Waters, the freshman, 6'10", 245. He isn't much of a scorer, but we will use him on strictly defensive purposes, and I like this guy. I mean, this guy is going to be with us for all 4 years, and even if he doesn't end up starting for us eventually down the road, he's going to be a special guy off the bench. He's big, he takes up space, he can guard pretty much a 4 or a 5, he has good lateral quickness, so I really like this guy in our starting lineup right now. Now, let's talk about the guy that is the highest rated guy on the roster. That's Dior Rogers. He is a true scorer. And the reason why I do not have him in the starting lineup is because I do need somebody that will light it up off of the bench, and he is the perfect candidate. He can score with the best of them, and his defense isn't bad at all. He's actually a pretty good defender as well because of his athleticism. He can't really shoot, though, and that's his downfall. But if we do get him in the second unit being the point guard off the bench, he can play the 2 guard as well. He's going to be unstoppable for this offense. Now, Keyon Hancock is kind of I'd say he's more of a defensive stopper, but where he definitely shines is just getting rebounds. He's just going to be really, really tall in the middle of the field, middle of the court, and he's 7'1". I mean, look at this guy. I mean, he's a mammoth. Just look at him going up to the hoop. Not a lot of guys can contest his shots. Look at him backing down 2 defenders here. I mean, it's just going to be a mismatch. He is taller, bigger, stronger than everybody on the court. He's definitely going to need to use that strength to his advantage, and I really like this guy kind of being the de facto big man of the second unit. Now, every team needs a shooter off the bench and a guy that can go in clutch situations and hit threes. That's going to be Aiden Beamish, the junior, 6'2", 185, out of Fairbanks, Alaska. Now, this guy can shoot. I mean, the lights out. The problem is, well, he's kind of a one-trick pony. A lot of one-trick ponies on this team, to be honest. And you know what? I don't care. This guy can knock down threes. If he can make big shots in big moments, he's definitely going to play a big role. Now, let's move to another forward off of the bench, Ersten Olga. He is 6'7". He is a senior, so we will need to replace him. He can shoot the 3. He's kind of an offensive guru. He can do it all. He can rebound pretty well. He can actually shoot pretty well. He's kind of all around, and he can actually play some D as well. So I could say he's kind of a tweener at 6'7". I don't really know what position he plays, but he's pretty good. Now, let's talk about our defensive stopper at the guard position, Tristan East. Now, Tristan East cannot play offense very well at all. But the thing is, I definitely need that guy who's going to be in on the last possession of the game, guarding maybe the opposing best guard on the opposing team. And I think Tristan East is going to get a lot of playing time because of his defense. He is more of a slasher too on offense, but I don't really care too much about his offense. We have other scorers that we can depend on and not have to rely upon him. Now, let's talk about some last guys off of the end of our bench that we will kind of develop here. But Isaac Barrett is a junior power forward. He's 55 overall, and really he can play defense, and he's going to be a defensive guy as well. 6'10". He's got great size, but, his offense does lack a little bit. Now, let's talk about two freshmen who I think will be the future of this program, starting with Quinn Harvest. He does have a while to go, don't get me wrong, but he has the size. He can pass out of the post with 89 passing, and he's got 70 handling, which is actually really good for a center, and he's got 71 quickness, which is really good for a center as well. So I'm really looking forward to developing him. He has great offensive awareness, so I'm pretty optimistic about what he can do. He can actually score on the inside and the interior, so I'm looking forward to probably redshirting him. But let's talk about the next guy, Daquan Jones. Now, this guy can score. I mean, score. He is an all-around offensive weapon. He can shoot from the perimeter. It's not really polished. he kind of reminds me of Dwayne Wade a little bit. Dwayne Wade's never been a great outside scorer, but towards the end of his career, he started taking more threes and started making them. I think this is kind of the mold that Daquan Jones is going to follow. He's definitely a bright spot on this future roster as it stands. Now, we are going to participate in 2 preseason tournaments here. We are going to go up against Tennessee in the first one, but that is going to be our second game of the season as we start out versus West Virginia. So we are going to start out with like 7 or 8, maybe even 8 in a row, I believe, home games after playing that preseason tournament versus Tennessee. And then we will start conference play versus Notre Dame and Marquette, Louisville, and Syracuse. So we are going to have our work cut out for us definitely in this series, and it's going to be a rebuild. It's tough. Like I said, our highest guy is 61 overall. That means that we're not very good. We're going to have to develop our guys and maybe pull off some upsets, and hopefully we can make some noise in the Big East. But right now, we are definitely the worst team in the conference. And we did schedule a couple of other rivalry games like Loyola, who I mentioned. It's another Chicago school. We will play them. Auburn, we'll play them. Cal, we'll play them. And UMBC, the Retrievers, we will play them as well. So stay tuned for this series. It's going to be a ton of fun. Let me know what you guys think of this roster. And I did allow you guys to submit your players for this series. So all of these guys are created players. So, hey, this is all you. And also, we will have the recruiting specials as always, like I do in all my series. And that will also be made up of all of your submitted recruits as well. So you don't want to miss this series at all. We are just getting started. Next episode will be the Midnight Madness. So hit subscribe, hit that like button, stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.
Yeah, they filling out these job applications. Life got hard after high school graduation. I went to college and your boy got financial aid. They gave me money, then I went and bought a pair of J's. And I bought a pair of shades. And I bought a new computer. Had $400 left, spent the rest on...